Today, dear viewers, I want to talk to you about the importance of working for your art, for taking the initiative to work on things even when you're feeling despondent or uninspired. These are the times where we would much rather flop down on the couch, fire up the old Nintendo, and explore the untamed wilderness of Hyrule. We now take you live to me, but in a different place, to tell you all about what project we're working on this week.
Hey, good morning Internet, and welcome back to Matic Film Society. Today we're here at Essential Photo Supply because I've got a question that's been rolling around in my head for a little bit and I really want to try and figure it out. I've been shooting with the Fujifilm X100V for a couple years and I absolutely love it. A lot of people do. It's a super internet happy camera. And the reason people love it so much is because it has these things called film simulations. And what those are is they are Fujifilm's original film stocks that they had that they've loaded into this camera as different color profiles. And I've always been really curious to know how close those color profiles and film simulations that you get in this camera, how close are they to the actual film? And so what I'm gonna do today is I'm going to grab every single film stock that this camera has as a film simulation, and we're going to go and shoot this camera on the emulations, and we're going to shoot the film stock, and then we're gonna compare them and just see how accurate these digital cameras are to getting real film stock simulations. So let's take a look and see how close they are. Okay, so we are in the film cave looking for some film stocks. So we're gonna need some Provia, we're gonna need some Velvia, we're gonna need some Astia, we're gonna need Classic Chrome, ProNeg, we're gonna need Eterna, we're gonna need Acros, we're gonna need a lot of film. And so that's why we're here at Essential Photo Supply, because I mean, look at this. They've got tons of film. They've got all the film that you'd ever want to shoot ever in your life. Let's take a look at these images. Let's take a look at the comparison between film and digital. Over here on our left is the Fujifilm X100V, and over here is, well, this is Acros 100. This was shot on an Olympus little point and shoot autofocus camera. The X100V uses an APS-C sensor and a 23mm lens, and so that when converted up to full frame, which is 35mm film, that is also a 35mm lens. So the Olympus also shoots on a 35mm lens. So there's gonna be no difference between what lens these were shot on, other than the X100 is probably going to be a lot sharper. All right, so first off, we've got these rocks, and honestly, I thought I was gonna like this picture a lot more than I actually do. I think the X100V looks worse actually because you can see more of the detail, but that was what I was trying to do. I was trying to get a lot of detail, but honestly, it kind of came out bad. I'm not very happy with it. The detail is distracting, whereas on the film, the Acros actually, because it blurs it quite a bit and it's not as sharp of a lens, I actually prefer this one because it has much stronger contrast. This one, I'm gonna have to give it to the Acros again. It's not a great picture, it's pretty boring. There's not much going on in it, but I like the contrast and the colors of the Acros more. So that's a win for Acros. Should we be keeping score of this? Probably. Slot that right down the middle. We got the X100V and we got the Acros over there. So far the Acros has 2 points. X100 has 0. This one of Alicia and my dog hanging out, again, I'm gonna give it to the film. This one's brighter, and yeah, I could have overexposed this one, but I like the film better. I think it looks better. Another one for the Acros. Let's see, this is another very boring one that just honestly, I don't think either of them are gonna get a point on this rock feature. I thought it was gonna be beautiful with these stripes going down the rock with a lot of contrast with this bright sky behind it, but honestly, nah, sorry, none of them are getting a point on that one. It's too sad. This one I'm okay with. I'm okay with the car at camp, with it kind of being nestled and tucked away in that shadow. It kind of lends itself to some, I don't know, it looks good. It's not bad. We're gonna give that one probably to the Acros as well because the shadows are darker, but you're still retaining so much data in the shadows that it looks a little bit better. I think the highlights the X100V might take the highlights on that one. This one's gonna be a dead draw almost. Yeah, but see, the contrast in the film is a little bit stronger. You know, you get the darker shadows, but they're not as open, that's for sure. So you do lose a little bit of detail, but I like it more. And so that's already 5-0 for the Acros film. Unfortunately, this one, let's say this cat picture doesn't really count, even though we do have to give a point to the X100V on this one because that's an actual picture. This one that the film shot was, well, it's garbage, but that's a photographer problem. It could have done it better, but shitty photographer, unfortunately. This one, oh, it's 100% going to the Acros, except for how beautiful is this light flare here. Even though this light flare on the Acros is much dirtier and grosser, like the one on the X100V is so soft, it's so smooth, it's like a little baby's bottom. It'll just wipe off into nothing, you know? But this one has more to it. I don't know, it's got something special is in the rock form. I don't know what the heck to call this thing. It's a rock with a bolt drilled into it. It's just kind of funny. I like the shadows. I like the angle here that these shadows make with this light placing the rock right in the middle of it. I think that came out really good. I do love this image of the staircase going up these silos. I think that's really beautiful. It looks like the Acros is going to take it again. It's darker in the shadows, more contrast, more detail. I thought the X100V would absolutely take that one away, but to be honest, it's a little bit flatter. It's a better image. I can tell that it's a little bit sharper, but no, sorry. See, but this one's 100% going to the X100V. This one, the X100's light flare that it's got going on right there, that is a thing of beauty. We really love that with this little Buddha guy hanging out in his garden, you know? He doesn't know whose cups they are. They're nobody's cups. Mr. Balloon Hands. This is not Mr. Balloon Hands, but this is Mr. Gargantoid just hanging out on the train tracks, not letting anybody pass. And this one, I think we're gonna probably give this one a draw as well, because honestly, even though it's a fine image, it's decent, it's nothing great, nothing stands out on either one except for, there's kind of an ugly vignette that I don't love in the sky of the Acros film, but I'm gonna chalk that up to, that's a camera problem, that's not a film problem, so I don't know if that's a real win. That's kind of a TKO kind of bullshit. But this pyramid, yeah, pyramid goes to the X100V as well, no doubt. I love this light flare coming off of it. This one, the Acros is just in shadow, but now we're starting to get some real heavy hitters. This one on the Acros gets the absolute guaranteed clear win. I absolutely love this image. I think it's so beautiful. But the only reason that the Acros is winning is because there's a subject in there. I love how you can see the difference between what happens when a subject moves into a frame and it just turns the whole thing on. Like this one, yeah, the shadows are okay, they're fine, it's just an overpass, but it's boring. But on the film with this subject right in the middle, closest to the middle, it's really well balanced. Oh, I love it. Oh, I'm so happy with this anonymous stranger walking. There's another one that has an anonymous stranger in it coming up that, ooh, I'm sorry. It's like, it's one of those pictures that like, it just came out so unbelievably well. None of the talent was mine. It just happened in the world and I happened to be there at the moment that it was taken and was lucky enough to be the one pressing the button. Like that's kind of how I feel about this image that I'm gonna show you. I'll show you in a minute. I love it. You've already seen it. You know which one I'm talking about. This one, fence, you know what? This one's a little bit dulled, a little bit grayed out, a little bit more contrast in the Acros film again. And these are not the results that I was expecting. I was expecting to have more contrast in the X100V. And I know in Lightroom, I can just slip that slider right over and give this more contrast, but these are basically unedited. You know, I wanted to see straight out of the box how the film simulation was looking, and I got to give another one to the Acros because again, more contrast, more detail. You can see the grunge in the pipes a lot more. You can see a lot more going on in it. Then standard dog picture, I guess actually this one goes to the X100. There's a lot more clarity and a lot more, you can see the dog a lot more. This one, actually, I'm gonna give this one of the engine into the X100V as well. He's making a comeback, guys. Okay, we've got ourselves a battle. This one, you know, it's going to the X100V again, taking it on the McDonald's streak. Okay. Ooh, the Acros is squeaking this one out for sure. I really like this image. I really like the tower in the background looking through this hole, and I really think that came out beautifully. But the Acros, even though the shadows are darker, there's still just enough detail in there that it's a little bit more intriguing than the X100V. That's a tie. But see, this is what it's nice to know, is that when you are shooting the X100V and the Acros, in certain situations, they're going to be basically dead accurate. They're going to be almost the same. But in the case of this chair, I think this one, the exposure on the X100V is just a little bit better. You get a little bit more brightness out of the chair, whereas this one's a little too far into shadow, and they both have beautiful lens flares, but the X100V is taking the lonely chair boy to town, that's for sure. Okay, we get that point for him. So this one, wow, these are 6s, but the only reason I'm giving this to the X1, no, you know what? I like the detail in the building in the reflection more than I like the detail in the building of this reflection. That one's going to the Acros as well. I think there's actually a lot more contrast going on with the harsh lines in that building. This one, kind of standard staircase. We're going with the X, no. That's Acros as well. I'm sorry, I'm getting my lefts and rights mixed up. That one's Acros as well. The contrast of the shadows while retaining the detail is just, honestly, the film it's got such a better darkness to it that I really like. And see, but also it's not just the darkness of the images, like the shadows as well. Like the brights over here in this right section of this twisty staircase from below it's brighter white than it is on the X100V. The X100V is a little dullish gray, and that can be fixed in post. I like it straight out of camera on that one, but we got the pissers. We do like the pissers. We like the pissers a lot. We are very happy with this. These are, technically, we can't perfectly compare these ones, even though we got to remember to give ourselves another point over here on Acros for the swirly staircases. Okay, back to the pissers. So the pissers are actually different bathrooms. As you can see, there's a micro pisser down here for the people that got, you know, they don't have any shins anymore and they're just thighs to feet, and so they're kind of short and they can't pee that high. And so they are different. But again, you know what, the Acros is gonna take it. There is more contrast, and I like how dark it gets the further you get down there to the mini pisser. Woo, Acros, I think you're gonna take it for the straight up baseball grand slam on this one. Yeah, I like it. Not just because there's more action happening in this photo where the ball's like right there about to be bunted. In this one, the ball, who knows where the ball is on the X100. But I like the highlights more. I think those are brighter and cleaner. I think they look pretty good. You know, I told you that this was starting to be a good game, but well, all right, let's give a point to the X100V for the back of the field kind of thing. I like the sun flare. I like that there's actually detail in there. There's no detail in the shadows for the Acros on this one, unfortunately. This one, ooh, okay, another one that honestly, I think I'm gonna give this one to the X100V. It might be out of pity, just because I do love that camera. I don't wanna see it get hurt too bad. You know, it looks good. There's nothing wrong with those images, but there's also nothing much to say. And so that's kind of like one of the things that I wanted to look at with these images. I got some of the most incredible, beautiful images that I've ever shot, and I'm so proud of them. The reason that I was able to get those images is because of the work that I was putting into it. Not so much that I like went out and I had this idea and this image that was already in my head and I had pre-planned it out and figured out where I needed to be to have the light in a certain way, to have this kid run past to make it all look like this. Like, no, none of that happened. None of that is really how any of my images ever get made, but it's just being willing to commit to doing certain work and then doing that work to the very best that you can and seeing what happens along the way and letting all of the chaos and dilemmas of, now I got to shoot this roll of film, now I got to find time to do this, now I got to find time to edit that, and letting the process just kind of unfold as it does, you end up getting really lucky sometimes, and you get some wonderful, beautiful images. You know, like this one, they're fine. I like the mountains in the background on both of these. I don't like the flash spill off on the Olympus on this one for the film, but we don't care about those images because these are the ones that we're really, really looking at. And this is probably one of my favorite images that I have ever shot in my life. I'm so in love with it. I think it's so good. I love how it's just nothing but falling back chairs really, really long. And like the X100V does look really good. I love the abstractness of it, just fades into oblivion of nothing but chairs. But then the film image that I just got so lucky as I was turning around, this kid was running and sprinting across it, that I didn't frame it the same that I did with the X100V, but I love the way that it came out with this kid getting perfectly motion blurred. Not me that chose to do that, 100% the camera, it chose everything. It's just a point and shoot. And I got so lucky to just nail him right in the middle of it and have this. It just has such a feeling to it, and I love it. This one's getting printed big, it's getting blown up and put up on my wall. That's a super point for Acros on that, mostly just for the feelings that that one emotes. I love it. It just, oh, it makes me feel good. See these chairs, now I did it a lot more where I tried to shoot very identical scenes and not worry about having a subject matter. And that one's gonna go to the X100V because I like the depth of the shadows and the grit of it a lot more on the X100. And this is what I expected to see mostly on the X100, but as we can see from the score, that Olympus little boy, he's taking it away. He knows how to slug a big dog. He can beat down the X100V. Oh, I love these ghosty ones, you know. They look really good. There was some really beautiful light in the stadium that day. I was really lucky to be there. This one of the people walking through the stadium is going to the Acros just for the sheer depth of the blacks, the creaminess of the whites. It just looks good. This one, that's another tie. You know, that one, who cares? You know, let's just give to the X100V, make it more of a game, you know? We want it to be reasonably close, you know? We're not gonna just mercy rule the guy. He did put up a really good showing. I'm really proud of what images the X100V came up with. I think they're really beautiful. But something about the film images, the dude underneath the freeway, the kid running through the stadium, the blurriness of the people walking through the stadium, man, the light flares that it gives off, everything about shooting that film. Every time I shoot it, I really like it. It's so good. It's a really, really impressive black and white film. And everybody's on this train of, you know, HP5 Ilford is the cream of the crop, the pièce de résistance. It is everybody's perfection. It is what you must shoot if you want to make art and you want to make something that is worth people's time to even view. No, it's like every film that you shoot always has such unique character, has such fun, different things about it. You never know what you're gonna get with it. You end up having these strange chances of the film just happening to be exactly what you needed in your camera at that very time to get that image, and that kid just happens to run across the stadium at the very moment that you decided to go for a walk to get away from the crowds of screaming people and take pictures in the back of the stadium. And
stuff happens, you know. You have to work for these images in a way that not everybody really likes. But that's what I mean about working for your art. When these images were made, I wasn't jumping out of bed at 5 a.m., doing a cold plunge, running a mile while doing meditation breath work, then vision boarding these images into existence. No, it was quite the opposite. I was tired and I was exhausted. I wasn't particularly excited about the things I was shooting. I thought the images I had shot were below average at best, and it would have been so much easier to just say, you know, I'm not going to bring the cameras to the baseball game. I'd rather simply hang out with my friends, have a few beers, and watch the game. But had I not decided to keep working on the things I had committed to, I wouldn't have been able to make these images. They wouldn't exist. And so that's what's important about working for your art, is even in the times where you really don't feel like you want to do it, or you feel like what you're doing isn't really making anything worthwhile, You just have to keep working at it, and things will come into existence that you don't really know how they happened. They just did.